Hello there, Crackback. I was going to put a title up on this thing today about what's going on over 13, 14-year-old girls and prostitution and things like that. And then I decided not to put a title up because I didn't want to bring in that when I had other stuff that I wanted to talk about all of this stuff that's going on. So what you won't know is I literally have all of the paedophile hunters and exposures and sting videos get sort of sent to me as they go on, right? So I'll have them running on in the background quite a lot. And I'm seeing a bit of a pattern going on in a lot of these stings, and I'm seeing a couple of other worlds that are sort of crossing over into this, and how this grooming is coming from maybe a different perspective than maybe campaigners, police, social workers, the good people who are trying to get to the bottom of all of this are sort of missing. And I think it comes from, and I need to be really open and raw to sort of say where my thinking necessarily comes from, because it doesn't come from reading books and going to university, even though I did go to university and study psychology. But it comes from being, not being, but was, in my previous lives, being an escort, and from taking the phone calls that I used to get to deciding whether or not I would go on a job, to the experiences that I had, to have the conversations and listening to people's fantasies and things like that, and some of the things that I was even asked to do, and barriers and boundaries that even I had but that other people didn't have, and being in that whole network and world. And then seeing obviously the gay community and how the gay community, I'm not gay, but how the gay community works, because I've got a lot of friends and people and stuff, and I obviously hear stories and things that go on and stuff like that. But what I'm finding a little bit is how some of these sting ops are being handled, and people have got to be very, very, very careful when you're dealing with people with mental health issues. And I can't quite see the line on where this is all going, because one particular sting up that has rattled me is two people clearly with either mental health or learning difficulties, or undereducated. This is where I'm sort of going with this, and not understanding that it's not okay to book a hotel to fuck, and I'm talking about like 20, 30-year-old couple, to fuck a 13, 14-year-old girl knowing that they are 13, 14. Now, in the escorting world, there are other escorts. It's not something I've ever done. I've done some crazy things, but it wasn't anything that I did. And that is that some people will pretend to be younger than they are. Even in porn movies, you'll get 18, 19, 21-year-olds pretending to be 13. Like, even take Britney Spears. Britney Spears sort of pushed the whole schoolgirl things, and then there was Billy, wasn't there, that come through after that. And a lot of people will know that there is obviously an ultimate fantasy that exists in men that like girls in school uniforms, and boys, and that whole thing, and that exists. And I think that stuff needs to sort of be talked about and discussed within this, because there's like this boundary that has to exist that doesn't exist. And the fact is, the age of sex is 16, and I think this is really wrong. And actually, I think the UK should higher it to 21. I really do. I really do. I really, really, really think that the UK should raise the age of sexual consent to 21. And I think at the age of 13, even 11, we should be injecting our children with contraception and telling them no, and it's legal, and explaining to them the morals of marriage and maturity and sensibility, and bringing children into functional, stable environment, whether you want to be on the road or not, whether you want to be in a home, it doesn't really matter. But and life changes, it does, and we go through transitions and we have bad times. But um, I don't think we should be living in this benefit culture where people are reliant on a government, and a government that they don't want to be anarchy over, but they're reliant on in their home and their wages and stuff like that. And I just think, as a mother and as somebody who's been pregnant at 15, and as somebody who's had a child at 17, and somebody who's had to give up her sort of identity and passions and dreams to raise children, and more so from unstable relationships, and seeing what's going on with the sexualization of children, what's going on with the breakdown of marriage and society and all that sort of stuff. And I don't think we have to go like China, where we're going, hey, everybody only have 2 children, blah, 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 blah. But I think we have to have a, a level of understanding that it's not really until you're like 23, 24 that you even actually decide who you are and who you want to be. Like, really, to bring children into the world, I don't think over 30 is such a bad age to be being a parent. I don't think it's so bad to go off and live and be your life. And I'm not talking about going around to Ibiza and shagging around and doing all this. I'm just saying go and be and do and advancing everything that you can be, and then go and meet the man of your dreams who has also done that too, and then go off and travel together and experience the world together and find your plot of land and build your home, and and bring your children into the world, whether you want 1, 2, 3 or 17 or 19, that's up to you. If you could sustain and support and provide for those children. And I think what's going on with our whole youth and our whole generation, I think people are going to say it's really barbaric to put children in line and give them all an injection and go, right, you can't have children until you're 21. And I don't think it's even about having children. I mean, what do? Do we stitch them up and say, hey, you can't? I mean, I was one of them kids that, was in sexual relationships from fucking hell, what, 11, I think. When I say consenting, I mean as in, you know, I used to find there was this right psychology with boys at school. Um, if you refused to go with them, they would tell everybody they fucked you and you're a whore, when actually you haven't. So then you get people coming up to you and luring to you. Do you know what I mean? So there's this whole, no, is there a rule book, the Bible? Yes, no, blah, blah, blah. Is the education system preparing and teaching us all as individuals who we are, what we're here to do, who we're here to serve, why we get nervous about some stuff, why we're passionate about other stuff, why we feel so much love to one thing, why we cry over this, why we have all these emotions, why we have all these feelings, why we have these connections to people, why we have these interests to people, and where this guideline exists. And America is actually 18. Here in the UK, actually it's the other way around, or is it America or UK? And this is the problem as well. Each country has got a different guideline about sex and relationships. Like, I mean, fuck me, over in some countries, like, children are actually even brought in as brides, like, at the age of 11. They're getting married at 11 or fucked at 11. One thing that was very prolific from this sting tonight, and the guys who did this sting were very clever in the way that they did this. And they asked them if they had nieces or anything like this of the same age of the child that they had arranged to meet with, which was a 13-year-old girl. And they said to her, it was a couple. It was a couple who'd booked a hotel to meet this girl. They told her what they were going to put her through and how this was going to happen. And that was it. No different than somebody ringing me when I was Sean as an escort, and they would ring me and say, right, I've booked this hotel, you turn up at this hotel, this is what I want you to wear, this is what I want you to do, this is what's happening, and I'm paying you to leave, and this is how long you're booked for. And for me it was $250 for the first hour, and I won't even get into it, but it was $1,000 for like a 16-hour overnight, the girlfriend experience. And children as young as 13, 14, 15, 16 are out there doing this. Like, they believe that they are escorts and prostitutes, and they believe that they are just selling themselves for sex. And some of them like it, some of them enjoy it, some of them know no different, some of them don't understand, some of them, the majority of them, are coming from care. This is the problem with this. They're kids that don't have parents. They're kids that don't have. My kids wouldn't even be able to get away with this stuff. Do you understand? Like, I know, I've got a 23-year-old, and we've had conversations about, he didn't agree about this positive, negative parenting that I used to do. And that's fine. And I've actually understood something about it. And I've learned a couple of things that he did with drugs and stuff that I didn't know as a parent. So children do sort of like take time to go off and do stuff. And we as parents have to understand the signs of child exploitation, child grooming, the way the music industry is grooming the youth, the way that the media, the fact that such young children are on YouTube, the fact that I have 7, 8, 9-year-old followers on YouTube. I don't know, and this is why I don't respond to a lot of the people on here, because I don't know the age of the people that are on here. This is why I don't get into conversation with many people, and a lot of people are fake profiles. And unless you've got a blue dot on your profile that says that you've put your passport on it, which I'm going to do on mine as well, that says I'm me, this is who I am. But it doesn't mean jack shit these days. And I just don't understand why people can't get their head around, and this is what this sting up person was saying, the damage that, take it from the perspective of the girl who's 13, who's got to get on the train or a bus or get a taxi or get dropped off by a pimp, go into a hotel, knock on the door, go past all of the porters dressed as the way that she is, go through the lifts or whatever hotel or whatever seedy place, or we call them in-call places. So there are private rentals where you can do in-calls. You book by the hour or a few hours, pretty much in cities, homes, madam homes, stuff like that. And then they've got to knock on that door, and then they go in, and then there is the exchange for the reason for why they're doing it. They might have just offered her a phone, do you know what I mean? They might have offered her, a modelling contract. They might have offered her a bed for the night. They might have offered her a meal because she's out on the streets as a runaway foster care. And it doesn't just happen to girls, it happens to boys too. You know, it's happened to my own partner, for fuck's sake. You know, he's got drugged and stuff as a kid. He's said it on Twitter now, so you know he's put it out there. He's trying to put his thing up, but it won't go up from his phone onto his YouTube at the moment. So you know he was a runaway from foster care, having to dodge people trying to stick dicks up his arse, as he says. So you know, but he ran. Not a lot of people ran, and I just don't understand why the mind of people beyond the age of 18 want to even, like, I'm a breastfeeding mum, right? And I was laying there thinking about this the other day, about how people perceive a mother with a baby on a breast. And I can't name the couple who approached me the other day, and I can't really speak about what people share with me, but something that was shared with me the other day was about a couple feeling bad about bringing a baby in the world, because as a couple they like to lay naked together on the sofa and watch TV and watch films. There's nothing wrong with that. They're a couple, an intimate couple laying naked together as we once were. There's nothing wrong with that. For even a family like me with my younger children to lay in the bath, to lay naked together is okay. I don't see anything wrong with this from an insider's point of view. Somebody on the outside might sort of think, but when I'm a mother breastfeeding my own child in the bath, there's nothing wrong with that. There is a line in this. I can't get my head around how somebody gets off on that. Like, even me and Dean as a couple struggle to fuck because we're in a one-bedroom flat. You know, there's a sexual relationship, of course, you've got young children, and then there's this line of, you know, the kids have just, like, you know, you've got young kids, and even like all parents will know that moment when you've got the baby that sleeps in the bedroom, and as parents you start to feel really uncomfortable because you have a baby in the room, and it starts getting like, you know, baby's got to go in its own room and all this sort of stuff. And as mothers, you sit there going like, yeah, I know, but what if they can hear, or what if they remember? And as couples, you actually have conversations with yourself, like, you know, like, what age is it? Like, what if they wake up and it's like, and it becomes a big hindrance to couples because you've got to, you know, have this. Even as children grow up, as I know, it's like, you know, the level of intimacy in front of children. Some parents don't show any intimacy in front of their children, and some do. And some children even actually grow up traumatized because they believe they've been abused, but actually they've overheard the sounds of their parents, you know, and what's happened, or they thought their parents were in DV when actually, you know, mum's just been enjoying herself riding daddy, do you know what I mean? And it's a really, really, really fine line, but I can't get my head around this line. Like, even the fact that I was conceived to a 15-year-old mum, can't remember if my dad was 17 or 19, but either of those ages, is it right for a 19 or a 17-year-old to be in a sexual relationship with a 15-year-old? Is a 15-year-old competent to understand love and connection? Do children have sexual needs? Yes, they do. You're born with a sexual desire from the moment you are born, and if people want to reject that, you're fools. You obviously haven't got children, and I bet you that philosophy comes from people who don't have children, because when you're a mum and you change your child's nappy, you are very, very, very aware from day one day one your child has the, you know, that level of sensation. How you change a child's nappy is very important. You know, the level of the dignity that you give a child when you're changing their nappies as well. The level of showing them covering up. You know, who washes them, who doesn't wash them, how they wash themselves. You know, we're teaching them about their genitals and things like that. So I don't know. I just can't get my head around what goes through someone's mind in order to be able. I can't even sort of bring myself to. But in order to crack all this, in order to bring some form of massive big solution to this whole fucking horribleness, then there has to be a way of reprogramming the way that these people think and why they think the way that they do. And in order for me to do that, and the people that can do this, then you have to understand where they're coming from. And I just can't get, it's the same as homelessness, I just can't get into the beggar's mindset to sit on a curb and sit there and beg for somebody's money. I just can't get to that level, and I just can't get to that level with with understanding this crossover. Not because it's a legal age. I'm 41, okay, and even I, like, fucking Dean's fit as fuck, but like he's 40, he's 42. He's 1 year older than me. One year older than me. I would have quite a big challenge in dating. Say things don't work out with me and Dean, and I'm back on the shelves, and you know, I'm back out there looking for my husband again. I know for a while I couldn't be in a relationship. From now at 41, I couldn't be in a relationship with somebody who's 50. I couldn't be in a relationship with somebody who was maybe 45, 60. And I certainly couldn't be in a relationship with anyone under 40 now. 100%. Like, I would have absolutely no attraction whatsoever to any person below the age of 40 now, as a 41-year-old. Like, I couldn't imagine a 23-year-old picking me up in a car. Now, I'm not saying that. I have got friends who have got younger boyfriends and younger husbands who are much younger and much older. I'm talking from my personal point of view, which is why I'm telling you I can't get to this angle, which is why I need to have lots of different points of views and understandings on this. So if you are somebody who's 41 with a 50-year-old, then, you know, tell me and help me understand, because I can't do this from a narrow point of view of just my own, of that age. I have to be able to understand. It's called an inquiry or an investigation. So I'm inquiring for people to basically help me understand, because when this submission comes to the end, I need to write this document from an organisation point of view and not as an individual. So you get two options on it, to write as an individual and organisation. So I will be doing both. So we as a society, as a collective of human beings that have had enough of the way that things are advancing that are not quite right anymore, and that we've had such tolerance to for so long, that now has to be changed. And the only way for that to change is to change human behaviour, society, and the ways of thinking. And the only way we can do that is to really, really, really talk about love, human connection, co-symbioticness, creation, life, touch, feelings, emotions. And if we don't start talking about those sort of things, then people are going to combust because they're getting angry and hurt and rejected and confused and paranoid, and not paranoid because things are not going on, but because they're not going on right now in their lives. But they have to think about these things. They have to prepare for these things because it's going that way. And if we as a collective consciousness of people don't collaborate and come together very, very quickly to maybe interject on this stuff, to maybe have an opinion, to bring our thoughts to the table, to question things, to not point fingers or judge or say, well, she shouldn't be doing this and she shouldn't be doing that, but as a society to be able to draw some form of line and some form of, zero tolerance. Like, take St. Helens, for example. As a community, they decided that people won't walk around the streets with cans in their hands and throw their cans on the streets. So therefore, no, there was a no drinking tolerance in the town city of St. Helens. And I quite like that, because I really don't like this British culture of the normalization of alcohol, and how, like, I went out with a man who used to like to walk down the road with a fucking cider can in his hand, and I used to just think, do you know what? Garden, in your back garden, sit chill, have some candles in your back garden, that's fine, but why'd you have to be at the front door of a fucking can? Why'd you have to walk down the fucking street? I don't like that. I'm sure some people don't mind that. And I don't like the fact that Red Bull cans represent these fucking alcohol cans, and if I see cider in the signs, I don't like it. But then I'd be quite happy sitting in, a different environment with it. There's just, like, I don't like to be seen smoking. I don't like smoking at all. That's my challenge. That's my battle. I would deal with it. But it's not something that I like. Just as I don't like to open my window in the morning and see 11, 12, 13-year-old kids sitting down there smoking a joint and sharing a bonny thing and engaging in sexual activity. I don't know. Is it me? Have I become a prude? Have I become that horrible nosy neighbour that doesn't let the kids be what they want to be and all this sort of stuff, that will pop the ball and all that? I doubt it. I just think that we just don't. I always remember that we always lived. Do you remember films? They were always 18, PG, 15, and you just stuck by it. You just accepted it. And then the boundaries got pushed, and the boundaries got pushed. I remember the first film that fucked my head up, and it was walking into a bunch of teenage lads watching, what were they watching? Flesh Gordon, a fucking porn movie. And as an 11-year-old girl, I was like, didn't know, like, I don't know. I just think we have to protect the innocence of our youth. And I just think here in the UK, wherever other people are doing their own country, they've got their own countries to sort out. We've got to get our own country sorted. If everybody in the world has got their own countries and counties and cities in order, they're divided just for statistics, but, just from where we are right here, right now, our own shit, our own life. Like, I mean, I've got Dean on the phone who's constantly worried that I'm going to meet somebody, I'm shagging this one, I'm shagging that one. It's like, who do you think I am? How the fuck have I, with 2 children, got the time or the inclination that does what I do, that is constantly working 24/7 on a mission until this is done, and knows, I've got the responsibility of so many people. I'll go down to a fireside and I'm meeting complete and utter strangers that feel privileged and honoured to meet me, that you know, are very aware of the leadership that are having all of this stuff that's going on. You know, and I don't think people recognise as well that I'm not actually part of it, so to say. People think I am, but I'm not. I actually am the Trojan horse in a lot of this, and a lot of them that are going the wrong way. I'll be the one that will be steady Neddying you in the end, and wowing you up and holding you because you're going in the wrong direction. I made it very, very, very clear that this crossover that's going on now, which is a very, very important time and space, the door should have closed yesterday, and in the spiritual world, there are many of us holding this door open. And whether you believe it or not, like, I've got stuff going on YouTube. Don't forget, this gets put over on YouTube and stuff, and ow, my ankles have gone. Seriously, it does my nothing. I met another EDSer last night, and it was quite nice to see somebody trying to get, well, it wasn't nice for her, by the way, but it was nice for me. But it was nice watching the attitudes of people watching this person trying to get up with a child in her arms that was asleep, and the people around her not realising where these issues were, but then seeing how easy it was for her when I just literally just put my hand just slightly for her to go at that particular point. And she was like, yeah, somebody gets it, mate. Seriously, I've got to get this body sorted. And this is another thing, like medically as well, like how many children of this age are being abused because, you know, they've got body issues. Like even Aaron, you know, when Aaron was taken, these medicals, like, I mean, do people realise that foster care children have to go through looked after meetings all the time, what are called LAC reviews? I'm going to have to put my legs forwards, guys. And every time you go to a LAC review, it means you have to have a medical done. And because they're foster care children, and because of all these laws over children, you know, being, it's a bit of a double-edged sword, this protecting children thing, because they are aware that children in foster care are more prey to sexual abuse. Children in foster care are checked for sexual abuse, and even this is unnecessary medical checks. To have to check babies, 2-year-olds, 3-year-olds, 5-year-olds, up to 11-year-olds, 13-year-olds, 18-year-olds, right up literally into the leave care. They have to go for a looked after medical examination, and that examination will consist of their blood pressure, their height, their measurements. They will have to express and make sure there's no bruising to them because of any evidence of bruising. Their genitals and anuses will be checked, and it's like, that's what they were putting Aaron through. That's why I said to Aaron, no bruises, not yet. It wasn't because of anything like that. It was because I was trying to make him feel comfortable about the fact that they were stripping my child down and checking him over, and I had to do it in a very quick way because he felt violated. He didn't want to be stood in a room on this bed with the police officers and social and doctors and everybody, and his mum pushed away. I wasn't even allowed to be with him. I had to step right back, and in the end I had to go no, and because he was like getting upset and crying because he didn't want to have his clothes taken off, and he was kicking off, and I'm trying to say, look, he's an EDS child, don't do that to his shoulder. And I'm getting bollocked by the fucking PC Stephen Lewis from Wrexham Police Station, you ignorant cunt, because you've got an autistic kid and you thought I was taking the piss. Seriously, give me 2 seconds, guys, 2 seconds. Boundaries. In fact, I actually did a picture once where I think I was sat with my legs, and Ab will probably pull it up now, and there was a tree with a root with a heart that was sat just in between,
And I did a bit of an awareness month for one of the sexual abuse awareness months. And, you know, we have to talk about this stuff now. Like, what should our children be taught by parents? Because we shouldn't be relying on schools to teach us. I'm going to be getting more and more involved in home ed. And I'll tell you what, if I find in these home ed networks that children are being fucking pushed around, mate, I'll be fucking dealing with this my own way. Like, seriously, if I do, and I'm not going to, you know, it goes on the education system. I ain't saying it's going on in the home ed, but I guarantee you that there will be a network of people, and I'm going to be asking the home ed leaders of this to please, 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 you know, I don't feel safe, you know, going into such a peace, love, and harmony and free for all world where my children come into concern. So I'm going to be very guarded going into this world, especially when it's so off the grid as well. So yeah, of course. So I want to build my own community, my own community. And if I have to go my whole life and say it took me my whole life to trust this person, so fucking what? I've got my whole life, and you know, you know, these are my children. These are my children. I don't have space for incompetency when it comes to my children, because if I go down, my kids go down. If their dad struggles, our kids struggle and I struggle. If our home life is interfered in any way, shape or form, the door is darkened, then our children suffer. So I have very strong and very tight boundaries, and they actually used sexual boundaries on me to take my children. They said that because I was abused as a child, therefore I wouldn't have sexual boundaries to protect my daughter. Well, I had many years of therapy, thank you very much. Not that they brought that to the table, because they said there was no way that I could have got 2 years of therapy when only 6 weeks is usually offered. Well, if they bothered to contact the place, I did manage to get a letter, but unfortunately that letter didn't turn up until 18 months later. And I still haven't presented all this evidence, but I'm so looking forward to getting my court date. I'm going to fucking kick their asses, the kingdom come. I'm going to crush this shit. I am. It's so funny. It really is so funny. I've been keeping that ace card for so long. It's just that we've had to get bigger, stronger, harder and faster. I'm just a little bit worried that actually there's not going to be as many innocent parents as I thought. And that maybe the other side's not as bad as we think either. And I've got a feeling that a lot of this is all coming from a parent network. And that just the fact that our children have been taken from us and put into the system with people that can't control them because obviously they want to run away to us, is putting them in a vulnerable situation where these people are then picking them up and they prey on these children. And this is where we, the parents that have had our kids taken, and the system that has taken our kids, have got to work together, because there is a bigger force involved in this, and we can actually stop them from taking our kids, because actually it's the people above them that have set them up to do a job, which is why they haven't got such good retention, because people work it out very quickly and then they come to the other side to try to help and find that you bang your head against a brick wall. And we really do need these really, really good social workers and really good foster carers to now all come together now and really talk about how we have a children's social care service, and every one of us needs to have something put into this inquiry. We really do, because
once a child is removed, they will never have true sexual boundaries, because the only way a child really, really, really learns is from their own mother and father, and there is no replacement. There isn't. Doesn't matter how you try to write it, turn it, make yourself feel better about it. You can't rewrite DNA. You can't rewrite that. But because of my times of being on the streets, because of my times of understanding drug clinics, because of my times of being in festivals and dance and, you know, the music world and clubs, and understanding the battles that people have with drugs and alcohol and all these issues that are going on, you can't tell me that everybody in this world has a right to bring a child into the world. They have a right to a family life, but they don't have the right to inflict their lives onto a child. So where does that line come in? Where does this boundary come in? Where does this line to say that a child doesn't know their own mind? Because I've got a 3 and a 1-year-old in there who clearly know their own minds, and my job as a parent is to just guide them to be who they are, and create those opportunities and spaces for them, and to allow them to travel safely and get to where they need to go and do what they need to do and be where they need to do, and just be a bit, you know, the person who makes them realise about the roads, and put your penis away and don't play with it right now, and knowing's not appropriate right here, right now, and this is the boundaries and stuff like that. So yeah, I think I've got to talk about this stuff. But anyway, my body is really fucking killing, guys. Like, I'm so achy. My back is killing me. My legs are hurting. My shoulders are popping left, right, and centre. My neck hurts, and I'm really, really tired. Like, I managed to. In fact, should I show you? It's been quite cool, actually. Let me just show you very quickly. Let me get up. I went over to King's Church this evening to go to their. It's like a night that they do where it's all like what do you call it, like food for all sort of thing, and they just have like a come together night, and it's free meal and stuff like that. But actually, we turned up too late, so. But the woman there said, "Oh, she said, did you know they're doing an event over at the hub tonight?" So I went over, and it was actually the second night of it. And I ended up actually doing a talk, and I ended up talking about my experiences of on living on the streets after Aaron and Faith were taken, and how it was, and why I, you know, don't agree with homeless people being given blankets and tins and all of this, and how people can't see from the point of view of living on the streets, and that why people on the streets will never tell you, and why people think they're ungrateful and stuff like that, and how it works with passports. And I even said, like, it would be so much easier that when someone turns up and declares homeless, rather than say, well, you know, okay, you haven't got any ID, what they should have is a form that says, you know, where you were born and all of this stuff, and then say, right, well, we will now get your ID done. Danny thinks it's a good idea. You know, we will get your ID done, and it will be here for you to pick up for in the processes. You know, in the meantime, they're going to put you into, you know, the hostel unit, and you've got 28 days to work out whether they're going to help you or not. Do you know what I mean? And in that time, you get your ID and all these things and stuff, and it can just come out of your benefits or whatever. I don't know. You pay it back. I don't know. It works something out. You know, there's just these really simple solutions. And why people, you know, have alcohol issues and drug issues, because they're dealing with trauma, you know, because you've labelled them, because society has put us in this box, and they feel so trapped, and to suppress yourself with drinking alcohol feels the only way to cope with it. So society's caused that, so society can undo it. So, but anyway, I'll show you this. So It was the last day today, so Liam's actually taken a load of plates out tonight as well. So in here, I've now got, so obviously because I'm only paid monthly, so I'm paid by the 18th, so I've got another, I don't know how many days to pay, but all bills are paid though, so I'll have an absolute freezer full of, it's all pasta bake, but I have, like, I'll try and show you if I can. So I have filled my freezer because it was there last night and it wasn't very well promoted, so they had so much food left over and not many people turn up, but you know, bless their cotton socks for trying. So it also meant I've got a lovely little bowl as well, so now it's going to be easier for me to make things up. So I have one now that I'm going to take down tomorrow and have some lunch with the mums tomorrow. And I'll have a couple made up for a couple of people in the block tomorrow. And these are coming with me tomorrow down to the fountain for with Bev. So I'm going to take these down, and these will go in the pack down to there. So literally at what's my shift times? Where's my shift times? So when does Bev meet? Bev meets. Oh, I've lost my dates and my times and stuff. Oh, there it is. So basically, from 9 till 10, 9 on a Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and Saturday 6 till 7. Helping Hands is down at the fountain in Portsmouth. We've got loads of places like this. The John Powell Centre do loads as well. I mean, if it wasn't for places like this, when I was on homeless in Bristol, like seriously, I don't know how I would have coped. It's all right going and using McDonald's toilets, but it's not like you can just, 99p, sort of thing. But so that's cool. So tomorrow's sorted, and then obviously that will. The stuff is frozen. That's for if say, I don't know, I get into, we are struggling or whatever. I mean, because I do still have, like, that was obviously the 3 boxes of cornflakes was from over at the park today. A lot of herbs and spices and stuff, but I've got some rice. But this thing, the problem is there's a line now in when my children would fall below children in need. And because my paperwork's still not straight, I'm not willing to go back around their houses again. I am not the only person going through this, so don't go, hey, Kelly's what a fuck up. This is the gap that I have told you all, and I'm trying to show you how to be resourceful within this gap. So rather than, stressing out and worrying about how you're going to, support your family and stuff like that, Free Cycle is absolutely wonderful. If you're really struggling, I'm actually going to be putting up a notice on Free Cycle to anybody who's got, sort of size 10, 12 work closes, because I need to be going to job interviews and stuff. So, I am officially allowed to remain, supported by government until Shiloh's 2. But I can't do another year like this, no way. And I'm, and also from this situation, I have to put up my first month's childcare as well. So it's crazy. I get help with childcare for Elijah, 15 hours, but not for Shiloh. So, by the time I've paid for childcare, say if I'm on minimum wage, then, and somebody else, and my childcare person is on minimum wage, then my minimum wage is going straight to my childcare. So, and childcare providers aren't on minimum wage. So if you're on minimum wage and your childcare provider's not, then how are mums meant to go to work? Do you know what I mean? Or even how fathers meant to sustain, you know, as one salary to support the mother and the children. Like, you know, so anyway, there is a better way. I'm going to follow it through. I'm trying to pull it together. I'm trying to get the fundamental foundations together, and it will happen. But I really do think that, you know, a lot of this is going to come down to this one little bit of a line now on what is going wrong with why so many children are in sexual relationships under certain ages, and everyone's trying to justify it. This is the thing. Rather than going, well, you know, I met my partner at so and so and I was pregnant when we were in a so and so relationship, actually sit there and go, but actually, really, would you want that for your own child? And that's the way you've got to put it. Would you really want it for your own child? So anyway, on that note, I'm going to bugger off out. I know there's 10 minutes left, but I'm really tired, guys, and I'm going to catch you later.